Breathe. Never let Loki help. That's the whole reason d'etre of this channel. Never let Loki help. Ever. We're not gonna say why or I'll lose my temper. Okay, we're gonna do a lot of things at once. I really enjoyed this. And someone had asked me about how do I communicate with the gods? Do I do meditation and that? And we've covered a lot of this before, but it's good to have a refresher. You know, we've covered about like using a Ouija board, and you can use tarot cards, and you can use a pendulum to teach you yes, no. And no, I'm not going to teach like Wicca 101. I did that for years. If like you don't know stuff, you know you have to practice to pick the skill up. And I'm not being harsh. A lot of people today seem to like want to do absolutely no practice. They want to be perfect from day one, and you know that's not how it works. We all went through stumbling through and trying to get signs, and it doesn't work. And I will tell you one thing, everything doesn't work all the time for me. And what I say that works for me may not work for you at all, so don't feel you have to do it just because I do it. Do what you're doing. I think a lot of people think because you're on YouTube and they always see you discussing stuff that you have this huge high rate of success, and you don't. There's a quote by Babe Ruth that, you know, he had all these home runs, so what? Look how many times he struck out and everything else. So, you know, in that spirit, to look through the book, I enjoyed the book. I did. I liked the message, which was not really, it did make commentary on the 2016 election, but the commentary was more about Loki and how he's changed over the decades, and how the being involved in the election at all was a smokescreen for something that he wanted to do. But being Loki, he was going to use a smokescreen, and, you know, he'll always leave it open to interpretation. Was he really being nice? Was he really doing a good thing? Or was he being, you know, Loki being Loki? And then for contrast, they show like his first ever appearance in the Mighty Thor comics. So that's in there as well in the back. And then there's where Loki accidentally created the Avengers. And there's tons of artwork in here. Like, you have all the artwork that you have in here. So, and there's concept art and other stuff too. I really liked it as a story. And what I did was I asked Loki to talk about communication with our gods. I asked Loki, I said, is there anything in here you want me to learn? And as I read through it, I was definitely getting our Loki speaking through the Marvel Loki. That does not mean I'm confused and think Marvel Loki is another aspect of Loki. But it does mean that if you read this story, and you read it with an open mind, you can see what Loki's doing. And frankly, he is so unattractive, so downright ugly in this art, that you're not going to be mistaken, you know, led or lured away by the outside appearance. You're going to have to more focus on his actions. And it does teach, you know, a good lesson and a lot of lessons. I was reading it, and like I'd stop every so many panels and I'd be like, I should talk about this and I should talk about that. I'm like, no, I'll vaguely talk about it, and then I'll do what I always do. If you want to know the story, you have to go out and read it. And communication with the gods is like that. Sometimes I will ask for communication with them that way, or I'll ask them to send, you know, a message through the radio. Or, you know, when I land on my YouTube, is there a message for me there? Or if I land on Pinterest, is there a message for me there? Most of the time, it does not work for me. You only get to hear about the times that do. I think that's what people have to remember. The gods don't, you know, always answer us right away. It seems like I get more answers because you only get to hear about, hey, I went on Pinterest today and I saw. You don't get to hear about the 50 or 60 times I tried it and nothing happened. So, find what works for you, because I do it very informally. I do use meditation, the person asked. I used to use guided meditation, which Loki kept interfering with and the gods kept interfering with. And they were kind of like this old school meditation you do of, relaxing the complete body and setting up a safe place and everything. It's not necessary. So now what I do, and you get to the point after a while where you could do it like have one part of your mind engaged in this role and have one part engaged in the meditation, is just kind of close your eyes and kind of let the gods take you where they want you to go, rather, not where you want to go. If it was where I wanted to go, we would end up in really interesting places. But sometimes you might end up in a mall and it's just they wanted you to relax, and sometimes you might end up in the beach and they just wanted you to relax, and sometimes it's like totally random. There's not always like this deep, huge spiritual meaning, at least in my experience. And sometimes they'll give you a dream right before you wake up, and it will be weird, and it won't mean anything. Like, you can ask for signs, you can ask for help. Like, last night I was, like, asking for help on something, and I really didn't know if I was getting any, feedback or anything. And this morning, Loki, as a thoughtful god that he is, gave me a dream where he was a fox, and he was both my pet and my son and Loki. So he's dressed up in like this hot pink halter and like this stupid fox or the fox or something. I think I read Stupid Fox, like the comic Stupid Fox. In a t-shirt like that, and he might have had other clothes on too, and like he was coming over for me to undress him, and I was just kind of staring at him because I wasn't quite sure how he meant that. I'm like, wait, what? In what way? In what capacity exactly? You're Loki. You could get yourself out of that. So that was very weird. And then at the same time, he's being weird and inappropriate, and I'm not sure what he means, and I'm going to need therapy. Because remember, it was also my son, and also my pet fox, but he was Loki. All at once. There's this altar, his altar. We were in the living room in front of his altar, and all my rings were out, and all my dead ancestors were there. So my grandmother and my parents and all these other people got to see Loki act in the full. Like, undress me. And I'm like, oh my god. You just embarrassed me in front of my ancestors. This is why the dead don't talk to me, because you're my god. So it was humiliating, but I lived. And he's Loki, so he'll be like, come hither, but if you would respond, he would be like, that's not what I meant. Well, everybody just wants me for one thing. I'm pure as the fallen snow. Sorry, but it's Loki we're talking about. But he will do that. So he was very much playing with me. And I made about a 16-minute video that was way more articulate than this. You can thank Loki that you don't have the answers that I first gave you, because they sounded way better than this. I know they did. I was on point. And Loki helped by having the recorder destroy the recording. So thank you, Loki. You can all thank Loki. And I think it was kind of his summary of what happens when Loki comes down. And Loki, the god, whether we're looking at it as our god or we're looking, using the Marvel as an example, he comes down, he shakes things up, he breaks things, and he will eventually be around to fix them. I think Marvel actually does get spot on. Loki will eventually fix the things he breaks. It's just not going to be in your time frame. It may take decades. And the one of the characters was so resentful and out to get Loki. She really didn't give a rat's butt about justice. She didn't care about justice or this country or anything else. She was just out to get Loki. She was so blinded by vengeance. That's all she wanted, was to get Loki, because all she had to go through because of Loki. And the whole time she was treating him as her enemy after him, and he just used knowing humans as well as he does to get her and everyone else around him to do exactly what he knew they would do. And so he still had that trickster aspect, but he said he was the god of stories. And he very much is. A lot of times I'll be reading a book and I didn't even have to ask a question or something, and I will get like a poke, like, see? see, or people, can be watching a movie or listening to a song or whatever. I think a lot of the communication with our gods has always been informal and random and at their speed, not at ours. Loki's already told me they do not have, the cliff notes for my life. They're not going to hand them to me and say, this is your life. Try not to focus on the bad parts. They can't do that for us. I have been having weird things pop up in my Pinterest that may be signs from him, and what he's doing is, since Pinterest can't tell the difference between a pagan god and their god, I'm assuming, he's using quotes from the Bible to cheer me up. Yes, this is Loki saying, you know what? I'm gonna use the Bible, because if these people are gonna post this stuff everywhere, I'm gonna make a use out of it. Because I was like, that is exactly what Loki would say. Oh my god, that's a Bible quote? Yeah, I forgot. And I used to know the Bible backwards and forwards, but the way it was couched and the way it was like printed up in the Pinterest pin, it was like, it was definitely Loki speaking. And he's like, he will speak through anything. If he wants to speak through the Bible, or show up in a church, or imitate God's connected with the church, he most certainly will, and then you'll get to have therapy for the rest of your life. Can you imagine, though, if Lokeans had to go to a therapist? Well, what's your problem? I thought I was a Catholic. It was Loki. Uh-huh. Yeah, this explains so much about my childhood. I'm gonna need very extensive therapy sometime. But yeah, I really liked it. I like that you have both the modern comic book, and look at Loki kissing a baby, and the baby's so happy. Usually babies are like, get away from me, why are you kissing me? And then you get to see old time Loki. And, yeah, a lot of this is over the interwebs and it's in Pinterest, but it's nice to have a book form to hold. I'd say, like, check out a seller on eBay that has, like, overstock or, like, not in mint condition, because, if you're going to actually read it and reread it, mint condition is a moot point at best, because unless you're going to leave it in the bag forever, once you open that bag, poof, there goes the value. But I really liked it, and I like the art style. It's kind of old style art style, and I will admit, I do not find this Loki even remotely attractive. He looks like a goober for most of the book. And, think of it though, Loki didn't want, his message being lost in the glamour. And there was, like, a lot of good stuff. Like, I can't show it all to you, I think, even though I'm no longer making money, but there were points that it looked like, Tom Hiddleston Loki was getting punched in the face by somebody, and it looked like all the various Lokis, like the old school Loki and everything, were showing up, so it was really cool. There's, was it not Masters of the Universe, Guardians of the Galaxy stuff in here, so like Groot's in here and everything else. And like they had tons of crossover, which they always do, because that's how Marvel got you to go buy the Mighty Thor's comics. Like, go look at Thor comics at the time this was being released, and you can get some more goodies and backstories. And it's Lady Loki at some points, and it's Lady Thor, or whatever. What is Thor called when he's female? That's a bit after my time. So whatever it is, but yes. 'Tis interesting when they're, they're both female, because it doesn't diminish who they are in, for the gods in the comic book. In, in real life, they're like big flipping deal female now, so what? And I know some people really get bent out of shape, but, I figured fair warning. I really enjoyed it, so, to recap, do what works for you. Do not expect it to work every time. I have the biggest strikeout record in history with communicating with the gods. And a lot of times we'll get stuff and it'll be gibberish and nonsense. And I said to, like, the gods, no disrespect meant, but why do you always do it that way? But if you find a way that works for you, like me reading the comic book to look for a message or listening to a song or something, if that works and it's coming through and it's an intelligible answer and it's really making sense for you, then that's the form that works for you. Dreams might not work for you. Meditation might not work for you. Whatever might not work for you. So if you're doing something that I don't even know about or haven't mentioned, like an EVP or white noise or anything else, go with that. I think that our communication with our gods is just naturally sporadic on both sides because we do have to keep our eye on the ball here. So a lot of times we're just completely tuned out, and that's okay. And sometimes, I think they're a little tuned out too, but that's okay as well. Not that our gods ever abandon us. I don't want to say that, but sometimes they're like, well, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let you do it. So I'm going to go have a cheeseburger. I'm sure you'll be okay. But, if we would squeak because something happened, they would be right there. They'd be like, well, there goes the cheeseburger. But, yeah. And I have a fly, an annoying fly in this house. Loki. But yeah, I was cursing Loki out because I made you epic on-point video, and of course the recorder failed. Thank you, Loki. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Best god ever. But, that's what it's like working for the boss, man. So, I hope you guys like what you saw. If you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. I don't think I'll get in any trouble for showing you stuff because we're never going to be monetized on this channel. So, see you guys later. Bye-bye.